Hello and welcome to Reminiscences with Professor Ahmed Tijjani Abdullahi, Professor of Mechanical Engineering, who taught in Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, was Principal of School of Technology here in Kano, later on Dean of the School of Engineering in Tafawa Balewa University in Bauchi, Rector of Kaduna Polytechnic in Kaduna, and the Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Board for National Board for Technical Education, which is in Kaduna. I think another side of him was an administrator, Commissioner for Works and Housing in Kano during the government of Abubakar Rimi, and also Commissioner for Education, before I believe he became temporarily actually the Deputy Governor in Kano.
Not temporarily.
For 1 year.
No, for 5 months.
For 5 months.
Yes.
As Deputy Governor in Kano State. So Prof, I'd like to welcome you to the program and ask you to take us to your early days in Jigawa State. Yes.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to this program. I was born in Ringim in Jigawa State on 15th January 1945. And I did my junior primary school in Ringim and then moved to Gwarzo for senior primary school. And I was in Rumfa College, what was previously a government secondary school, Kano, from 1960 to 1965. And from that, I went to government secondary school, Okene, for my high school certificate, after which I was admitted into Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, from 1968 to 1971.
Let's stop at Okene. How come from Jigawa here? I mean, you go to Rumfa. I know people go to Kefi, sometimes to Balewa, but why Okene?
I wanted to do mathematics physics, and at that time these courses were done only in 3 places: in Kefi, in government college, in the federal, what do you call it, King's College in Lagos, and then government secondary school, Okene. So by the time they took the exam to King's College Lagos, my principal was in Kano was not aware. So therefore the only alternative left was for me to go to Okene.
How was it going to Okene from Jigawa State then?
No, it's not from Jigawa State, it's from Kano.
Kano, okay.
Yes. It was a very difficult situation, but we even at that young age, we used to go into train here, and then go down in Ilorin, and then go by road to Okene.
Were you alone, or there were some mates that you were going
I was
with?
the only one from Kano. Yes, I was the only one from Kano.
So how did you fit in, and how did the study go?
Well, by the time I was in final year in Kano, I was the only student who got credit in what was called additional mathematics. And that credit was 6, which was the lowest credit. By the time I went to Okene Secondary School for HSC, I realized that in my class, there was a student who scored 111 in every course he took.
Wow.
Therefore, when they first conducted tests, I hardly scored 40. But within the 2 years, I was able to go up to the highest in the class. So the atmosphere was very good for academic learning. And then the teachers too were very dedicated. The late Professor Ibrahim Umar was one of my teachers.
In Okene?
In Okene, yes. he was in Okene for his certificate in education. You know, before when you graduate, you have to do certificate in education for you to be professional teacher. So he was in Okene, he taught me mathematics.
So you're lucky to have somebody from Kano also being there.
Yes, it was a coincidence. But most of the other lecturers were foreign. Yes.
Your love for mathematics, was it specifically aimed at you studying engineering, or you wanted to be a mathematician?
No, the situation was that Professor A.T. Suleiman was ahead of me because he went to King's College, and then he was taken from class 6 so to senior secondary school. So he had 2 years. He gained 2 years ahead of me, but he lost 1 year as a result of sickness. So I was aiming at catching him up.
Because you are from the same town?
Everything, same town.
From
we are
even
related, yes. Yes. So because of him, I was able to develop interest in mechanical engineering. Therefore, we studying. He was ahead of me by 1 year.
In ABU?
In ABU, yes.
So your choice of mechanical engineering was something deliberate, or it's just something that was available in ABU then?
No, when this type of question was asked during the scholarship interview here in Kano, I told them, I said, I learned that mechanical engineering was the most difficult of the engineering courses, and therefore I wanted to go to see how far I could go with it. Yes. And lucky enough, I was able to go up to PhD later. Yes.
But you did when you did your first degree in ABU in mechanical engineering, did you work before you went to Manchester for your PhD?
Yes, I was a pupil engineer in Ahmed Tijjani University, instrument department. And then during that time, Professor Ishaya Audu, who was the vice chancellor, wanted somebody to study machine tools technology, and therefore he obtained admission for me from the University of Manchester, and it was a very good thing that I went there, because initially at first I didn't like to go, but then later on it occurred to me that it was one of the rare courses available.
Why were you reluctant to go?
At that time I didn't know the course as machine tools technology. You know, when you hear machine tools technology, you will think probably that the study will be for ordinary tools.
Workshop, right?
Yes, but actually it was dealing with the big machines that produce parts for other machines. And after he gave me the pamphlets and I went through, I realized that it was a very good course, and therefore I decided to accept the offer.
Were you sponsored by ABU or Kano State government?
I was sent by ABU, but I went and attended the interview for Kano State, and therefore I got Kano State scholarship. So after 3 months or so, it occurred to me that it was better for me to tell ABU that I was on Kano State scholarship. So I went there to the London office and told them that I was on Kano State scholarship, and I was also on their own scholarship. So I would prefer to retain Kano State scholarship. So if they had anything to add for me, I would be grateful. They said no, they didn't do that. But then what they gave me, they would not allow me, they would not require me to pay back. So in that case, I prefer to stay with Kano State scholarship.
How was life in Manchester for a young man at that point?
No, it was okay. It was I was able to cope. Only that it was very cold. Yes, it was because initially we were taken by the British Council and attached to houses of, or at least myself to a house of one of the elderly people, you know. but later on I realized that it was too restrictive. So I decided to leave the place. But then when I left and got a rented apartment, I misconceived that a big room in Manchester meant something. But when winter came, I realized that it was a disadvantage. Because when you put, even the heater that you put, you will only be able to warm your feet. Your hands on the table will be extremely cold. So in that case, I complained, and then the University of Manchester moved me to the student hostel.
Did you go with your family at that point?
No, I didn't marry until after I finished PhD. Yes.
So what happened when you were a brand new PhD, you came back to Nigeria?
Well, I returned to Ahmed Tijjani University and started lecturing. And after a year, the Kano state government wanted to open a technical college here in Kano. So they invited me to come and open the technical college. You know, at that time, there were no PhD holders in my profession. So I was the pioneer principal of Kano Technical College, which later became School of Technology. And I was there. I started the ND programs, certificate programs, and so on, and to some extent HND programs.
How come you veered off from being a teacher, a lecturer, an administrator of college into the government of Governor Bokarimi, which came in 1979?
Well, even when I was in School of Technology, I was very interested in politics, although I did not take part in active politics up to that time. But there were periods when we were recruited by NEFU to be their agents in the northern Nigerian elections. You know, Abubakar was aware of that. So that was why after he won the election as governor of Kano State, he invited me, and he told me that he wanted to give me appointment under his government, and he wanted to know which post I was interested in. And I said, no, let him give me any post he considered me suitable. So he decided to appoint me Commissioner for Works and Housing.
How was
1979.
Yes, how was it working for him? I mean, there are all sorts of, his supporters will say he did a lot in Kano, and others will say maybe not.
As far as emancipation of the masses is concerned, and physical development, he had done tremendously well. But you know, the opposition, they didn't like this to be reflected as his achievements. So naturally, those in NPN then were critical of many of his activities, especially his pronouncements. Yes. You know, he always used to joke about the President Shagari and so on. And even though one-to-one they were actually respecting each other, but it's only in politics when they go to the masses that they show otherwise. Yes.
What was the achievement? You were Commissioner for Works and Housing. So what are those physical developments that you say happened in his government? Well,
first of all, as Commissioner for Works and Housing, we inherited a number of capital projects which were by then going on, like Kano Hadeja Road. It was started, it got stalled, and we were able to finish it. There's Goram Basirka Road also, which we completed. There were projects dealing with area courts, which were non-existent at that time. we established them. We completed the Kundila housing estate, which was started and abandoned. So we completed it. There were a block of flats that were in different places. One here in School of Technology, the Technical College, near the Technical College. There is one here in Court Road, and there were others which we completed. Some of them, like the one in Court Road, we couldn't complete because of financial problem. So the government decided to sell to other parastatals. So those on Court Road were sold to Bayero University, Kano.
What will you say is your best performance? Was it as Commissioner for Works or as later in Commissioner of Education, which you became?
Well, these two things, there are two things one can say. As Commissioner for Works, the achievements were physical, so you can see them.
Yes.
As Commissioner for Education, enhancing education and the establishment of junior secondary schools were the main achievements we had. Because you know, before my appointment as Commissioner for Education, there are very few juniors. There were no junior secondary schools. They were established to take the large number of candidates coming out of UPE primary schools. So we established the junior secondary schools, and we also enhanced education as at that time. Even though, you know, when you have so many schools, you get into problem of financing. But we were able to do that. And for instance, during our time, St. Louis Secondary School was previously financed by the Catholic Church, and later on they realized they could not do it. So they approached Kano State government to take over the administration of the institution. So we took over the construction of the capital projects and the payment of salaries. And in return, we were given 70% of the admission, while the proprietors retained 30%.
What of these science secondary schools? Because that's the period when we learned about the special science.
The science secondaries, the two science secondary schools in Dawakin Kudu and Dawakin Topa were established during the time of Sani Bello, Governor Sani Bello. Yes, and I was privileged to be one of the members of the governing board. When I came to Ministry of Education in Kano, I was able to enhance their performance. And it was during that time that we sent students to Bulgaria to study medicine. And I'm happy to realize that most of the consultants in Aminu Kano hospital, teaching hospital, they were products of the science secondary schools.
So when Remi's tenure ended in 1983, because he didn't get second term, why did you suddenly leave the government? I mean, was it not, you were not in good terms with the Sani Bakinzo who took over?
No, I didn't leave the government. What happened was that the provision of the constitution required that if you are not a member of the political party which elected you, or which will be ready to allow you to contest under its platform, then you have to contest under the platform of another party. In which case you have to resign as governor, as PRP governor, and then contest as NPP gubernatorial candidate, which was the case.
That's for Remi, right?
For Remi.
Right.
So he had to give the 6 months notice.
Yes.
So when he resigned, the deputy governor then, Alhaji Audu Dawakin Topa, became the governor. Then somebody else had to be appointed deputy governor. And my name was sent to the State House of Assembly recommending that I be the deputy governor, and the assembly so approved. So I was appointed.
So for that period, you are deputy governor until the election.
Deputy governor from May to October, to November, to September 1983.
How was the experience? A lot of people say deputy governors are just spare tires. Sometimes they are called. No power. No,
as far as I was concerned, I was deputy governor and I was commissioner for education. And therefore I had too much in my hands. And for the final few weeks to hand over, I was the acting governor of Kano State.
Did that put in your mind the thought of further political involvement, contesting election yourself? Because you apparently didn't do that.
No, by the time I was deputy governor, Rimi was contesting together with Mahmoud Usman. Mahmoud Usman was his deputy gubernatorial candidate. So that did not give me room to go into politics, because Mahmoud Usman was much better politically. He could speak fluently, he would convince me. You know what politics is. Yes. So he was a gubernatorial candidate. And after the coup, then everybody realized that he should look for an alternative means of living. And being previously an academician, I decided to go back to the university.
You went to Bauchi?
I went to Abubakar Tafawa Balewa College, Bauchi.
Was that satisfying? Here you were a commissioner, you were governor, acting governor, and suddenly you are back to the classroom.
No, you know, I received what to add is a sabbatical in Kirikiri Maximum Security Prison. I was in Kirikiri for 20 days together with Vice President Alex Kwame and all the other governors at that time. And that period was memorable because it brings you into the level of ordinary person. You know, and
after going high, you come low.
Yes, yes. So you feel more modest in whatever you do. So when I went back to Bauchi as a lecturer, I really didn't feel anything.
It's better than Kirikiri.
No, the curriculum were there only for 20 days, and I was detained here for 20 days and 10 months, making the whole detention period to 3 months. And I felt nothing. It was part of experience in life.
But was it unjust? Did you feel that you did nothing and you were just detained?
No, at that time they were investigating. You know, they investigated the performances of all commissioners. The detention in Kirikiri prison was for security reasons. They wanted to stabilize the government. Therefore, they felt that these governors, deputy governors, president, vice president should not be allowed to remain in public view. But once the investigation was completed, they realized that we didn't do anything. We lived according to our means, and I received no bribery from anybody. And this same house I'm in is the one that I built with loan from the bank. So they released me.
So you were in Bauchi, and I don't think you stayed too long. Before you were offered the rectorship of the largest technical college, Kaduna Polytechnic.
Well, I was in Bauchi for 4 years.
4 years, yes.
Yes, and after that, there was a advertisement for new rector for Kaduna Polytechnic. So at that time, there was a law that prohibited deputy governors, former deputy governors, taking a public appointment. But I think they realized that that was not fair, because there were some deputy governors who had no case to answer. So they allowed me to take part in the interview, and subsequently I was appointed director of Kaduna Polytechnic in 1988.
I think you spent almost 8 years there?
Yes, I was there for full 8 years, 2 terms.
How was it?
It was memorable. I was the only person who stayed 2 terms, and thank God, throughout the period there was never a time when Kaduna Polytechnic was closed because of security problem. The lack of security was the one that took me to Kaduna Polytechnic, because there were some misunderstanding between the Christian and Muslim communities on the siting of a chapel. So they appointed me rector, and the problem came as a result of a mosque on one of the gates, and then the Christians also wanted to go to have a chapel on the other gate, since there were 2 gates. So that was the thing that brought the problem. But when I was appointed, after I inspected the facilities, I realized that there used to be a central gate, and I said, why shouldn't the gate come to this place? They said, no, there were some, deliberately they built a post office to block the gate. So I said no. I said I closed the 2 gates and then constructed the central gate, which is still the one that the Polytechnic is using.
So that solved the problem?
Yes, yes.
Did you expect to, after the Polytechnic 8 years, you are director, is it a natural promotion for you to go to MBTE, which is the...
Yeah, well, it is, since MBTE, you are looking after all the polytechnics in the country, both federal, state, as well as private. So it is a much bigger responsibility.
And how long did you stay in MBTE?
I stayed in MBTE for 3.5 years. The normal single term is 5 years. But you know, the situation, there are things that you need to do to please your superior officers. And if you don't do it, no matter how hardworking you are, they will not like you. So actually that was the main problem. I had similar situation in Kaduna Polytechnic, but you know, it was when we were in Kaduna Poly that federal government took over. But before then, as rector of Kaduna Polytechnic, there was no job in Nigeria which was more secure than it, because no single governor could remove you or even suspend you. It had to be a meeting of all the northern state governors, and I enjoyed that patronage, and for all the period. It was only after the creation of additional states. There initially, I think by the time there were 12. So when during IBB's time, they increased the number of states, I think to, is it 18 or 20? 18, I think. Then Abacha added it too.
Was it 19 maybe?
No, 19 states were the original ones during 1979 elections.
Yes.
Yes. So later on, they increased the number of states, and when the states were increased for convenience of mathematical computation, they decided to abolish the ownership of all institutions owned by a group of states. And of course that meant only Kaduna Polytechnic, because it was only Kaduna Polytechnic that was owned by all the northern states. And as a result of that, federal government took over, and there were several criticisms. But later on, federal government accepted that nothing would change in the Polytechnic. So the admission, the administration, and so on would be the same. And that calmed the situation.
What kind of pressure did you face at the MBTE?
In MBTE, the pressure that was there was only from the center.
Federal government.
No, one cannot say from the federal government.
Minister of Education.
Yeah, exactly. It is, and even Minister of Education, it is from, you know, the ministry, there are two people, the Minister of State, and the PAMSEC. And apparently my problem was with the Minister of State and the PAMSEC. Mostly my fault is not allowing them to get a chunk of the allocations of the MBT, you know, and my situation was that if I didn't like to chop, why should I steal and give somebody? So that was the crux of the matter, you know, and so they felt they needed to get somebody else.
So what did you do? Well, I mean, did you?
I retired.
You retired.
Yes, I retired from the
before
federal.
your tenure was over.
Yes, I had to because it was an appointment, political appointment. So since somebody was appointed in my place, I had to leave. So I could have transferred my service to the university, but unfortunately I did not do that. But after I returned to Kano, I realized that I was wasting my brain. Why shouldn't I go back to the university? So I decided to take up contract appointment with Bayer University, Kano. And
why didn't you fight for what is right in MBT from these people who clearly were just trying to?
I did, but I wrote 2 petitions. Well, I wrote a petition to the National Assembly, and when I was advised by somebody, one of the senators, to write, and I informed them, I gave them brief on what happened. So based on my petition, the 3 people who petitioned against me, disciplinary action was taken against them, because I was complaining that I was the one who made an investigation, found them faulty, and instead of them to be punished, they removed me from the place. So they decided to take action on them. One of them was retired, and unfortunately he developed a heart attack and died instantly on hearing the retirement. The second person was dismissed, and the third person was demoted. So it was the National Assembly that took up the matter with the minister.
You couldn't reach higher. You couldn't get the full minister or the presidency to intervene.
No, it was, you know, since the government had already appointed another person. So, you know, government, they don't like to undo things. So they decided only to take action on my complaint, on my petition.
You have served many roles as an administrator, educationist.
Yes.
How big is the issue of corruption in the system, and what is it doing, especially to education?
Well, during our time, one could say there was very, very little corruption, because you appointment, admission, and so on, you don't need to pay anything. You know, students were admitted. In fact, admission into Kaduna Polytechnic, for instance, was so easy. Sometimes after the initial admission of foreign quotas, I used to sit down in one place, and the students looking for admission used to queue in line. And I asked them, if I was satisfied, I admitted them as supplementary list. So there was no problem. And then the same thing for employment. But you can contrast the situation after, particularly during the current political dispensation, that is widely believed that you have to pay to get employed. and you can hear several people, officials being accused of stealing billions of naira, you know. So the situation is unfortunate.
But even in your time as the head of a federal parastatal, there were pressure on you, as you hinted, to actually let off a big chunk of the budget to people, to higher ups.
Yeah, but the fact that I did not, if I had done it, I would have remained as the ES. They would be very happy to even give me second term. Yes, but because I did not do it, they felt they needed somebody who could do it for them. And this is the art of life. In many times, what they want is that even if you are not corrupt, you can close your eyes and allow the corruption to proceed. When I was in Kaduna Polytechnic, they did all they could. They couldn't. In fact, at one time, they went to Zaria and organized some form of ritual where they buried a ram alive with my name and amulets and so on. And the person told them that if the ram remained alive for, is it 3 or 7 days, then I would remain alive. And after the period, they opened the grave and the ram was alive.
After 3 days?
Yes. So they gave up.
What were they looking from you?
They wanted me to die so that they will have somebody who will allow them to steal.
Okay, in that position.
Yes, yes.
What do you think made you different? Is it upbringing? Is it religion? Because a lot of the people in your position will cooperate and also get the benefit.
Yes, I think both. Religiously, I was upright to a large extent, and then my colleagues told me that even as at senior primary school in Gwarzo, I was appointed the person to look after what we had at that time, honesty shop. Now that honesty shop, there were provisions, and there nobody there. So you just go there, you pay what you want, you take your change.
This is a secondary school in Jigawa then, in Gwarzo?
No, Gwarzo is in Kano.
Oh, Kano, yes. So in Kano.
Yes.
So
yes.
you had this honor system.
Honesty shop is called.
Honesty shop.
Yes, yes.
You take something and you keep the money.
Yes. You take something, put your money. If you need change, take the change. And late Alaji Shehu Munjibur was one of my teachers, and Alaji Adoyola too was the principal, and that operated very well.
And you are overseeing the shop.
Yes, I was overseeing the shop at one time. Yes, and you know, discipline as at that time was such that everybody was brought to the same level. Once you entered the premises, the gate, you were forced to remove your shoes. Even the son of the Emir of Kano, he had to remove his shoes. So we were together, all no distinction.
But one of the things senior civil servants say is that, well, if once you leave this position, unless you took care of yourself while you're in that position, then who takes care of you after? Pensions are small. Didn't you have that fear? Leaving all these big jobs, what happens to you after?
No, that is why the religion comes. You know, no matter whether you are in that job or you retired, God will take care of you. Therefore, you don't mind about, and you are afraid of taking what is not lawfully yours. You know, that is the crux of the matter. That in religious terms, you don't want haram. You know, so because of that, you not like to make up or steal a lot of money in order to enjoy your life after retirement or after leaving service. And I feel this is one of the prizes that I have won because now I'm healthy at 78 years old, and I'm even taking part in university assignments. Even on Wednesday, I hope to go to Pan-Atlantic University in Lagos for assignment, NUC assignment.
But were you comfortable when you retired? Did you feel that you were unjustly thrown out and you had nothing to rely on?
No. After I returned to BUK, you know, for a few 1 or 2 years, I was not very active. I mean, because I left the university much earlier. But later on, I assimilated, and I was able to proceed academically successfully, and I became associate professor, and later on I became professor 3 years before my final retirement.
So are you still active as a lecturer?
Yes, of course.
In UK? And
no, I retired. I left Bayero University 2018, 3 years after I became professor. Now, from that time on, that's 15 years, I had been going on NUC assignments to various universities, and I enjoy it very much. Yes, I'm very comfortable. I'm not, as I used to say, somebody, you know, some of my colleagues from other states, they were getting millions of money from government because they were former deputy governors. And when somebody talked to me, I said, no, I think that money is haram. I don't like it. So even if they say they are going to give me, I will not accept it, because I couldn't leave my position of deputy governor 40 years later. Somebody comes to say he will give me something. Because
they pass laws later on to say there is retirement benefit for governors and deputies.
Yes.
It didn't happen here in Kano?
It did. The only thing is that in Kano, they did not consider those of us in the Second Republic. But in Katsina, for instance, they were included. Yes.
So what do you, besides your occasional NUC assignment, what do you do now in retirement?
That's the only thing I do. I only take part in NUC assignments. Now, when I was in primary school, my father had a large portion of land, which he inherited. But because I went to abroad for studying, the traditional rulers at that time claimed that it was only a small portion of his land that was his. The rest were loaned to him, so-called. And therefore, before I came back, they had already distributed or sold most of the land. So it's only the small piece of land that was left. And because of that, I lost interest in farming.
What about politics? You are once a member of the PRP, and there has been efforts to revive the PRP, and you are one of the senior people indeed, except for Governor Abba Musalimi, who was governor on PRP. You are the next most senior. You never took interest in this?
No. Just as you mentioned, even Governor Abba Musalimi did not go back into politics. You know, he stayed off. Yes, because the system of government, or the political system changed completely. You had to be rich or corrupt to be in politics, you know, or both.
But do you see that there's any hope that we can rescue the system from these vices?
Oh, it's very difficult to say, but I don't think the current system, the way we are going, I don't think there is hope. Because the system, or at least initially from the beginning of this current dispensation, the National Assembly was made to feel that they could set their own salaries and allowances. And therefore, they did that with extreme selfishness. And this was the problem. And then they also believe that for them to agree to pass anything, they had to get additional inducement from the executive. So these things will not allow the democracy to succeed, in my opinion.
But we have a new government. A lot of people are thinking, well, maybe this is a fresh start. How do you see the start?
Okay, it may be a fresh start, but actually, unfortunately, the start is not good. What I did not tell you was that I was one of the founding members of APC. I registered in 2014 when APC was established, and I registered last year during the new registration. But it looks like there are some problems associated with the current government that will be very difficult to resolve. In the first place, it was good for them to remove the subsidy, but I think they should have prepared for cushioning the effect before they removed it outright. And this is what is now happening. For instance, now I am one of the federal retirees, pensioners, but up to now we have not received the pension for July. This is the first time. They claim that they wanted to ensure that we are alive. There is a system. You go into their own website and they register you as alive. You make movements. They confirm, yes, you are alive. But you don't do this type of thing suddenly. If you want to implement this, then implement it a month or two before you finish this confirmation. After all, since time immemorial, they had been chopping the pension of people after they die. So there is no need for them to start punishing the living pensioners now, when even the state pensioners have been paid. But the federal pensioners have not been paid up to now. So it's not good. Yes, we can give the new president benefit of doubt that he will still be able to correct the mistakes that have been made. But the main problem of the current political dispensation is the legislature. Both the state and the federal. The state, they are all in the pocket of the governor. But the federal legislators, they are the ones holding the executive hostage. And these are main problems. For instance, this cushioning of the effect of the subsidy. It was on camera. They said 500 billion naira for the rest of the country, 200 million of us, and 70 billion for them. How can you justify this? Even the 7 billion is too much. So it's not good for the democracy at all.
You, as you said, you are 78. You look good for 78. Is it genes or is it lifestyle? What
I
do you
think
do
maybe it's gene, because my mother died at 117 years old.
Wow.
She was 170 years by 2013 when she died. 10 years ago. Yes, and except for
this
the last...
This is verified, because this looks like a very long...
No, it's verified. It's not an independent verification, but those who, when she mentioned the various things happened during her youth, it was confirmed that she was well over 100. Yes. Except for last year or two of her life, she was doing everything on herself. She never even used walking stick. So in that case, I was maybe having some of her genes. And but I believe in myself that it is partly because when I was given responsibility to take charge of public funds, I did not steal the money and kept it for myself to take care of myself after I left office. I believe that this may be one of the reasons why God has given me the strength to continue even at this age.
Do you do anything to keep healthy, exercises, any special diet?
No, I don't. I don't.
What do you enjoy doing in your free time? Do you have any hobbies?
I read the Quran. Yes, that's all I do. I don't do any other activity apart from that.
You don't do any walking, any exercises?
No. Our mosque is nearby. I walk to the mosque, come back, you know, and I feel that is enough for me as an exercise. Yes.
Do you have a social life with friends, classmates that you are still around you?
We have a group of our classmates who graduated from Rumpa College in 1965. We hold meetings twice a year, but in terms of interaction between us, very small, very few interactions.
Everybody is in his house?
Yes, mostly. Yes, mostly.
What of the community? Are you involved with the elders? I know there's a Kano elders group.
Yes, I'm a member of Kano Forum, which is a forum for Kano and Jigawa states elders. I'm also a member of Jigawa Elders Committee. I'm also a member of the Islamic Forum of Nigeria. Yes.
Do you like traveling still at this age? Do you have a chance for that?
I have, but I have no means. Yes, I have no means. Even now, my car needs 50,000 to change the power steering. I'm trying to see how I could raise the money. So if you cannot raise even 50,000, how can you finance yourself for traveling? Yes, but I'm happy, very happy.
Yes. How is family life for you? I mean, 13 children sounds to me like quite a number.
Yeah, it is. But as you know, we have a system where the working members of the family supplement the income of the father. So these are the ones that are taking care of the running of the house. And that if it was for the federal government now, it wouldn't be eaten, since there is no pension for 2 weeks.
Yes.
You know, which is unprecedented. I don't know what happened, but really it's not good for the government.
How many wives do you have?
2.
Okay. And what will you suggest to improve? You have been in politics, you have been an academic. What will you suggest? Everybody criticizes. What specific steps will you suggest to improve what is happening in Nigeria?
So, it's very difficult to suggest anything, because what should genuinely be done could hardly be done. The first thing that should be done should be to reduce the remunerations of the legislators. It's too much. You cannot have this extravagant legislator and they expect that the country will be able to shoulder the burden. And unfortunately, the system is such that the system enables the legislators to believe that they are the ones that will decide on themselves their salaries and allowances. And this is why many people are feeling that the previous parliamentary system was better, cheaper, and less financially problematic, you know, because during the parliamentary system, the legislators were paid according to the sittings. You know, now is completely different, you know, and we don't know, but I'm sure even if the president wants the legislators to reduce their allowances in salary, they will not accept it.
But is that our only problem, that the legislators are overpaid? What of the corruption that seems to be?
They are intertwined. They are intertwined. The huge money taken by the legislators is partly the reason for security breach, for kidnappings, and so on. People realize that once you are friends with a person and he becomes a legislator, immediately he is sworn in, he gets millions, and he leaves your environment and takes a house in GRA and buy cars with tinted glass and change phone numbers. Therefore, even if you had his number, when you ring, it is not there. So these are the type of things that cause security problem. You are living with somebody who is even your neighbor, and you are not safe, let alone somebody whom you elect, and he goes to Abuja and doesn't come back until near the next election. You know, we are not as approachable as our colleagues in the east or west, because there those elected, they have constant contact with the people, you know, and sometimes even they had to contact them before they took certain decisions, which is what should be done. But here is completely different.
So you really lost hope that anything can be done to improve the system?
I think under the current dispensation, I don't think we will be able to solve the problem. Unfortunately, this is my personal view. Yes.
Thank you, Professor Ahmed Abdullahi,
Thank you.
Giving us an insight into your thoughts and experiences in life. And thank you, viewers, for joining us in this episode of Reminiscences. And I hope we'll see you another time. Goodbye.